I don't think this will take long, folks. See the link underneath the links underneath the video for what I'm talking about. Because I know, just in case, that toe-day divorcee, Stan Seder, that fat divorcee who failed at marriage, failed in Hollywood, and failed at talk radio. Or Old Fart Rants, another guy he's not a toady divorcee, but a divorcee nonetheless, and an uneducated idiot who said he studied the Bible for 50 years and doesn't even know what a concordance is. Or that overweight desk pogue from Story County, Iowa, named Latifah Faisal. Hello, Latifah, if you're listening to this. I hope the weight loss program is working out. Who else did I want to name? Oh, mcstupidx, the janitor from Chicago that lives in a small apartment. I'd be surprised if she finished high school. If any of them, Old Fart Rants, Stan Seder, Latifah Faisal, or McCainisthroughX, just in case they start autistically screeching about the shooting in Boulder, Colorado, let me remind you, and I also need to tell everybody, I don't need a script. You watch Old Fart Rants' videos, you'll see this guy, he'll do 3 sentences and then he'll bounce around, and then he'll do 3 more sentences and bounce around like an autistic ping pong ball. Even with a script, he can't do a video. It takes him all day. Stan Seder has a couple autistics in his studio with him, feeding him talking points. Stan, by the way, why'd you get a religion degree and you're not doing any religion shows? That seems kind of weird. You could debate J.P. Holding on that if you were interested, but then maybe after that people might doubt the veracity of that degree. Where was it? Oh yeah, I don't need a script. Latifah Faisal, the toughest thing she's ever done is take hanging 35-mile-an-hour curveball softball questions on a Zoom meeting, and McCainisthroughX, I think the hardest thing she's done is drive by the buffet without stopping. So if any of them say anything about this Boulder shooting in Colorado, need I remind you, from 2004 to 2018, 39,144 black-on-black homicides, single victim, single offender. 39,144 black-on-black homicides. During the same time frame, 2004 to 2018, 42,200 white-on-white homicides. Whites are 4 to 4.5 times the proportion of the population that blacks are. Do you guys realize that means there would have to be over 160,000 white-on-white homicides to be the same rate? In addition, most of these homicides occur in Democrat cities. If you have cities that have a high proportion of African Americans or African Americans and Hispanics, and there's a lot of fatherless children, these are the facets, these are the things you got to look for. A lot of fatherless children, a lot of people out of the labor force. If they voted for Biden, Hillary, and Obongo by over 70%, you will likely have a city that has a homicide rate, or the best way to put it, and I'm working on an update to this, I'm using the term murder/non-negligent manslaughter. But those cities, those Democrat cities that have, I went through it in 2 sets. First set had an African-American majority or plurality. The second set just had a minority population well above the average. They all voted Democrat, and they all had massively high homicide rates. In fact, it was about 6 times the national average. Now, I know what they'll say. The FBI says you can't be ranking them. Can't be ranking these things. That's why I do them in 3-year blocks. And that's why I dig into the data about, oh man, in Ohio, are you surprised in Ohio? More than 80% of the homicide victims are black, and more than 80% of the homicide offenders are black? Again, I'm working on an update. I'll have a lot of that for you. When you start drilling down to this data year after year after year after year, you kind of see a signal. So I call BS on that ranking stuff. Plus, I'm looking at state data and local police data as well. And newspaper articles, if they're helpful. Between 2004 and 2018, do you guys realize just a little over 10% of all homicides were multiple victims? That means almost 90% of all homicides are single victim homicides. They're not mass shootings. Most of the time, homicides, when we know the victim-offender relationship, where we know what their relationship was. Do you realize the vast majority of them, it's not a stranger, it's not a guy opening fire on a balcony, killing people he doesn't know. But that does sell newspapers, just like most planes land safely, but when one does a cartwheel on the runway and 300 people die, oh! News articles, do 5,000 news articles on something that happens once in a million. And that's kind of what they're doing here. Oh yeah, a little over from 2004 to 2018. little over 5% of all homicides were a fire, or the weapon they used was a rifle or a shotgun. Of all homicides, a little over 5%. So again, it's not mass shootings, and they're usually not using one of those evil assault rifles. Hey, Old Fart Rants, if you're listening to this, do you remember when I asked you what an assault weapon was and you didn't even know what it was? So again, look at the information. If anybody wants to quibble with my data, now you better read the data. Don't judge all Muslims. Here's my last thing I need to mention. You better read my data or you'll look stupid. Don't judge all Muslims. We heard that after 9/11. Don't judge all Catholic priests. How about don't judge everyone with a gun? Oh, one last thing. I'll leave a link to my article where I refuted Cory Booker, where he was autistically screeching about illegal guns. And most of the black-on-black homicide, in fact, well, most of the homicide, whether it's white-on-black, black-on-white, in these inner cities particularly, they don't go to a gun show and get their firearm. They don't go to a flea market. They get it off the street. They steal it. They get it through other nefarious means. They're not doing a background check. So just in case some of those screeching lunatics say something about the Boulder shooting, it's like every time there's a shooting, if you guys did a video on every time there's a gangland homicide that's not solved in Baltimore, Chicago, black on black, Baltimore, Chicago, Camden, East St. Louis, Flint, Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Gary, Indiana, Chicago, other cities of Wilmington, Delaware. Do you realize you guys are making videos all day long? Anyways, see the links under there. Have a nice day, and it was a pleasure refuting you idiots.